Hello, guys. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is General Committee.
Give it just a second. We're
Oh,
not
it's
live
still
yet.
circling.
And now we're
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's 6 o'clock here at the City of Hendersonville. This is the General Committee meeting, September 9th, 2025. So we're going to call this meeting to order and get going here. So we have the acceptance of the agenda.
Move to accept the agenda as proposed. Second.
That is accepted. Then we have the minutes from the previous meeting, which was August 12th.
I move to accept the minutes as submitted. Second.
Okay, and that's approved also. Now we have citizens' comments for the evening. I have a little bit words to read here, but they're not. Speakers must identify themselves by name and address. Public comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per individual. Because we have a bone meeting following this, we will be here for 2 hours. Which time is not transferable to other speakers. All comments are to be directed to the presiding officer, that's me, not to aldermen, city staff, and other members of the public. Comments must address issues, not individuals or personalities. Personal attacks shall not be tolerated. Comments may support or oppose particular issues or measures, but the motives to those with differing views should not be questioned or attacked. Malicious comments will not be allowed. Speeches for or against any particular candidate running for office, for public office, should not be allowed. So our first speaker this evening is Emily Knopf. Matt. Okay, Emily, you have the floor. Do you want to? I didn't call roll.
do you want to pause really quick?
I need to pause really quick. Then I'll know how you say your name. So we'll call roll around the room, including our guest this evening. And I'll start. I'm Bob Garza, Chairman of General and Ward 3 Alderman.
Rachel Collins, Ward 5, Committee Member.
Jason Gallo, Administrative Services Director.
Jana Garten, Ward 5 Alderman.
Mayor Jamie Clary.
Jesse Eckneroth, Chief of Operations.
Keith Free, Planning Director.
Karen Dixon, Alderman Ward 4 and Vice Chair of this committee.
Dave Mulvey, Concerned Citizen.
Michael Martin, Ward 2 Alderman.
Lance Ray, City Attorney.
Jay Ritterbeck, Economic Development and Community Planner.
Don Ward, Alderman Ward 2.
Casey Lamar, Communication Manager.
JP Finnegan, GIS Coordinator and Button Pusher.
Stephanie Casillas, Concerned Resident.
John Kenley, Concerned Resident.
Eddie Robertson, Ward 6.
Emily Nath.
Concerned Resident.
Chris Puckett, Concerned Resident.
Josh Rowland, I'm with the applicant.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So let's get back to citizens' comments. And Emily, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you for letting us talk tonight. My name is Emily Nath. I live on 1760 Avant Lane, or Avant Lane. My driveway actually empties right along Avant Lane, as do 6 other homes on Avant Lane. So my primary concern is just the impact of traffic congestion that this project may cause. Avant Lane already is used as a cut through for many of the residents that live in this area. As you guys know, it's a 2-lane park road, speed limit being 15 miles an hour, which nobody obeys. Frequently, people go 30, 40 miles an hour on that road, if not faster. I often get tailgated down that road, even just like trying to pull in and out of my own driveway. So I think a project this big, with 61 lots, I think can only really hurt that congestion, and just the congestion in the whole area surrounding Drake's Creek, New Shackle, Island Road. Other concern I have is stormwater. I know the development. I watched the meeting last week. I was unable to attend, but I know the developer has stormwater solutions for that development, but there's always like unintended consequences. How is it going to affect my home, the homes that go along Avant Lane? The south end of Avant Lane floods. It goes right butts right up to Drake's Creek. So when we get heavy rains, that south end floods and closes down the street. Oftentimes, will this development make that worse? Also on the east side of Avant Lane, where the homes are, there are no like underground stormwater drainage systems. So all the when it rains, all of the rain flows, from the grade, down the street into the creek aside from us. So I just have concerns about how stormwater may be mitigated and how it may impact us that live there. So as far as the congestion too, I know this development will probably or some kind of development, it's only a matter of time, either sooner or later. The rugby field that's proposed, I think, even though that's a great gesture from the developer, I do think it's going to draw more people and through traffic potentially onto Avant Lane. I know there's a parking lot that is proposed as well, but I think that, and as you guys know, the parking from the existing rugby fields overflows oftentimes onto Avant Lane, and people park in front of people's houses. I think maybe scrapping the extra rugby field, and maybe just putting another additional parking lot may help solve that problem. So just a constructive criticism there. That's all I have.
Thank you, Emily. We have Chris Puckett.
So I'm going to just kind of reiterate everything Emily said. I mean, my number one concern is traffic. I mean, that's my number one thing. So there is a lot of traffic that flows. The Durham farms are trying to get from one end to the other. So they go down the middle of the street, down the middle road through Durham farms, or they go down through Avant, right? And so we already have extreme congestion on both ends because there's a 5-lane intersection on the south end. They're going to put a light at the north end, which I agree that it's going to help one day help congestion there. And not really congestion, it's going to help people get out safely from the intersection, right? But that's not going to solve all of our problems, right? I'm just concerned about 60 homes being developed there with hundreds of digital cars. That's if they don't have kids. They're going to have kids and they're going to drive. They're dumping their traffic onto Avant, where frankly, I have a 5-year-old daughter that I can't even let her play in the side yard right now because there's so much traffic that goes down through there. So not only neighborhood traffic, but also the rugby fields, which even like tonight, there's an event going on. There's 2 rugby fields. That parking lot's full. Traffic's flowing down through there pretty heavily right now. It'll be like that this weekend. Probably they're doing a big event. There'll be food trucks down there, tents, and it's good for the community. That's great. But then I'm also concerned about that. You're getting an additional field down there now too, which is going to only add to congestion, traffic issues. So concerned about that. Also concerned that in general, Durham Farms should have probably never even been approved for 1,200 homes on a little farm road. I can't change the past. I was part of the phase 1 development back in 2018. I've seen firsthand how that traffic has negatively affected that area, and now the city is paying the cost for that. The traffic light, talked to Eddie about this. Right now, the state is paying 80% of the cost for that traffic light. The county and the city are paying 10% each of that cost, and today the city has paid around $400,000 towards that cost. So even though they're outside the city limits, I know they're talking about impact fees, which is great. I think that's fantastic, but it's $3,500. You get a lot, that's 61 lots. That's a little over $200,000. So we're not even really putting, a little bit of a dent into that traffic light. If, so unforeseen stuff's going to pop up, right? Something like a different Durham Farms. I know it's 60 homes, but I just think it needs to be scaled back. I'm not saying we can't develop on that land. That's inevitable, right? I'm not for it, not anti-development, but I just think 1,200 homes plus another 60 doesn't sound like a lot, but it is right there on that little farm road. It's a lot. Maybe put it somewhere else and behind, maybe that's okay, but it's just a lot right there on a little farm. So that's it.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
We have John.
Josh Rowland.
Oh, Josh. I
I
have a John first. Sorry. I'm sorry. Hey, John.
I was going to let you work on the name.
I've got to see my name. It's been a lifelong thing. I would rather say you can do it better.
Oh, no problem. John Kemna, 115 Edinburgh Drive, Hendersonville. Was at the planning board meeting. It was last week. Was a bit disappointed. I found it disappointing that the planning board, one of your members said that this homeowner should be able to sell his property. And I agree, he should. Or they should. I think it's a he. Bob, I know him. He should be. But why do we as a board, why is the board, planning board, why does the town have to change it from a farm, which it's been for decades and decades and decades, well before I was here, to a different zoning so that he can profit? He's enjoyed farmland status for how many decades? 40, 50 decades. They don't have to property over there. So that's number one. Not sure why it's incumbent upon the town to change that.
right? You've enjoyed all these riches all these years. You've got to pay the price. Second thing is the floodplain, as they've said, there's a floodplain there. It is, Chairman, it is a farm. There's grass there. Water comes down, absorbs into the ground. When it's pavement, cement, and macadam, there's no place for it to go except into the streams. Has anybody been here when it rains a lot and you can't go down stop 30 because it's closed? It's not going to help the situation there at all. I thought it was cute the developer added $3,500 per homeowner. After everybody spoke, all the board members said, "Oh, we didn't know anything about this." That's nice, but that's nice. It helps, but it's not enough for what the town's can absorb on that. Traffic impact, we talked about that. If you look at the way it's designed, there's two entrances to that new property. One's going to come out of Misty Way, across Misty Way. It'll be a four-way intersection. One will come off Kinsley. If anybody's driven down those streets, and I would encourage any board members or chairman to go drive down that street, if there's cars on one side, it's not a big road. And if that becomes a thoroughfare, and it will, for people to come in Drake's Creek and then make their way down, I worry about children getting hit. I worry about the traffic there. I don't live on those streets, but other people do. That's a problem. Parking, I think at this point, there's no parking on Avon, if I said it correctly. Though another change in the ordinance, because there's gonna be parking spots there. Very good. So I would ask this board to consider it deeply and deny this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Josh.
I'm here to answer a question
Oh,
of the board today.
Okay. Oh, well, thank you. We have some new people just walked in. Do you want to speak about the Advent project?
I had some questions as much as I wanted to speak. I live on Championship Place. My name is Gary McCarney. I'm 3 houses removed from Avant. And I know during busy times down at the rugby field, we have parking on our street. We have parking all the way down Avant. But my questions concern more why the decision was made, and we've been led to believe it was made by the planning board for the access to whatever goes in there to come down Misty Way in Kingsley, which really means you're directing the traffic through Durham Farms as opposed to using Avant, because that's the way everybody will come if those are the accesses. So I guess my question is, are there not alternatives for access? We all know there's going to be development there at some point. And the other question I had, it's not clear to me, maybe it's just my eyesight from the plan, whether that subdivision extends all the way to Old Drake's Creek.
Hopefully, we have someone here tonight that can answer those questions.
Okay, good.
Do you answer those questions? Yes. Okay, thank you.
And then the other one I was going to be, where would be the recommendation for construction entrance when this transpires, which at some point is all.
I bet he's got that answer too.
Right.
Anyone else? We had a few people walk in. Like, you okay? Wanted to give you the option. Okay. Well, thank you for your citizens' comments. And very well thought out. Now we go to ordinances and resolutions. The first one.
Oh, that was a sign-in sheet right there.
Oh, thank you. The first one is the reading of Resolution 2025-32. It's a resolution to hold a public hearing on the proposed plan of services for property being annexed located at 1765 Avant Lane in Hendersonville, south of Old Drake's Creek Road and west of Avant Lane. And one of the sponsors, or the sponsor of this reading of this resolution, is Mike Martin. Did you want to add anything to that, Mike?
I was just going to say the next three really go together.
They do.
Yeah. So the first one is the holding a public hearing on the proposed plan of services. That's a requirement that if it moves forward. There's the second resolution, which is whether to annex the property or not. And then the third one is going to be, if it's annexed, it's the comprehensive development plan that was presented to the planning commission.
Okay, but I agree that they're all tied together, but we also have to do each of these separately, but they all are tied together. Okay.
I don't know if everybody realizes this, but when it comes to committee, we send it to BOMA. We don't have the right we don't kill things like Congress. And so it is going to Boma. So obviously we would want to have a public hearing. We would not deny you that right. So I move that we send this with an affirmative
Second.
recommendation.
For the first time.
Yes. All those in favor? Aye. Okay. So that will be moving on to Boma.
For September 23rd.
Okay.
It is
September 23rd.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Number two, again, these sound very similar to some degree, but you'll get why. It's the reading of resolution 2025-31, a resolution to annex certain territory upon written consent of the owners and to incorporate said property located once again at 1765 Avant Lane in Hendersonville, south of Old Drinks Creek and west of Avant Lane. And for those in the room that know this, I apologize for being redundant. This annexation would put this property actually in Hendersonville. Currently, it's in the county, and in theory, this property could be started tomorrow. The county took over the program; they sold the property to the county, and the county has the ability to put, I believe, 31 houses, but has a cluster thing in there. They could put as many as almost 38 houses, and that could happen tomorrow with nothing in this room having anything to do with us. So I want to be aware of that, and I actually also spoke with Anna Avant, since it's her property, her father's property. And you're right what you said about how many. This has been over 100 years now. 150 years, and he's very sick. Not that that has anything to do with our decision making, and I don't think she can control the property anymore, as the situation stands. And so I thought she was going to come speak tonight. I think she got a little, not feeling like she wanted to speak tonight, but. So I just want to put that in people's heads, because so many times when we get into a situation of trying to make decisions, there's always 2 to 3, 4 parts to that decision, and this is part of it. Does this city, Hendersonville, want to take control or purchase this property so we can control what it does, so we can have it match the city, which is one of our things our planning department and public safety and all have get involved with, or we let the county make its total decisions, which could not match anything. It could be a sore thumb sitting right beside Durham Farms. I mean, it could be awful. I mean, how it looks. We don't know. I'm not saying it would be awful, but I'm just saying. So that's when we look at this annexation. That's what that's about. It's really not even about the property that's being built. That's number 3. But I want everyone to understand that this property is getting sold. Period. And it's their right to sell it. And I know they've had some great times with the farm. But I just want to bring everybody's attention, because I'm not saying I'm voting yay or nay. Right now, we're just going to send it to Boma one way or another with a positive or negative recommendation. But as someone who lives in the city and has lived here for a long time, anytime the city can have an effect on the development, the city wins. If we let other people do developments, we don't know what that means. And in this situation in the county, that property would have pretty much an entire volunteer fire department, and be under the sheriff's department, which would be coming right through Mansker. I say every time, that's my word, Durham Farms. So,
I have questions. Do you want to go first?
Sure, mine
Okay.
probably won't be as in-depth.
Mine's crazy. It's like
We get along, we really do.
Yeah. We know each other well enough to know she needs
5 years. So Keith, I've been being on this board for 5 years, and Rachel as well. This is our first request for an annexation in 5 years that I can think of.
Yeah, I think that probably
Okay.
is correct.
You will hear, and I'm just going to say, I don't care if I'm on camera. Many county commissioners say that that's all Hendersonville wants to do is annex. And in 5 years, this is the first one. Just want that out on footage. This is the first one, and we are not asking for it. The group wanting to purchase the land are asking for us to annex them. Okay. Is all of, and I think I know the answer to this, but I want to get it out there, is all of Durham Farms in the city?
Yes.
There's no touch point that the county has any control over Durham Farms.
Now, there was one small part, before they put the road all the way to Long Hollow Pike. That little piece, there weren't any homes on it, but for some reason, it wasn't annexed in years ago, even though it was part of the plan. It's kind of odd. That's actually, I believe, that's the last annexation we did, was to bring in that little part to make sure that that road was connected through. So the totality of Durham Farms is all within the city. And I think probably I've been here a little over 9 years, and there have been very few annexations.
Yeah. So walk us through the process of what that looks like, and what control does the county have? I mean, did they have to agree to pull this out of the county and make it city limits, or what role do they play?
No, and Lance, you might correct me if I get off on it, but I think a couple of years ago there was a movement to do that at the state level in the state legislation, to make it where you couldn't annex unless the county said that. You could, a county in Tennessee, but that didn't pass. But a lot of changes got made to the annexation. Most of it is really very cumbersome notification process. And a part of that notification process includes early on with this plan of services and the teeing up that you're looking to annex, then you have to let the county officials know. So the folks out there that are county commissioners that touch that area, we let them know in advance and let the mayor know in the county and that type of thing. So that's kind of the process, way the process works. And it's kind of confusing because, you know, the thought might be, oh, cities are annexing all this property and all that kind of thing. And it is very rare here. But basically the way the state of Tennessee, the annexation laws are and have been for probably 15 years, makes it extremely difficult, if almost not impossible, to annex property unless somebody's coming to the city asking to be annexed.
Okay. Well, I wanted to get all those big points out on the table so we know what we're dealing with here. And I'm going to let Rachel probably answer 50% of my questions. But I want to say that I do have concern on the timing of this because we just voted in the moratorium. And even though this is not necessarily the definition of high density, it still looks like it's just unfortunate timing because we have said we voted in a moratorium to get our infrastructure somewhat settled down in a plan, and then we're going to annex, more land in. So I'm going to hold my final response.
All right, Keith, you ready for me? And you might not know this, but this is a combination question. The timing with the when do we think, Josh, that construction would start if this goes through? And I do want an answer about where the construction road would go. That's very important to the residents. But when do we think that, like, the first move in? When would you have a house for sale? What does that timeline look like versus the timeline for when the stoplight and the Stop 30 bridge are completed? How is that going to line up?
The dates that we shared at the planning commission meeting last week was roughly about a 3-year time period. We're at the very beginning stages of our process, what we call the zoning and permitting process. And that gets us through all the construction document approval. So if we're approved at the zoning and annexation level, we have to do a final development plan and we have to do construction documents. That's about, from now until then, it's roughly an 18-month process before we have plans in hand that could be acted upon. The site, we have 2 phases of development. We have the horizontal, which is the utilities and streets and the stormwater ponds and the grading. That all happens first. That's at least a 12-month process. 12 to 18. And then we have vertical construction on the 61 homes. And that, is a timeline of at least 24 months. So, we're looking at 3.5 to 4 years total time frame.
When you said the timeline on vertical construction is 24 months until you complete all 61.
That's right.
But
So
when-
in the first 12 months, you might have, it,
About three to
Okay.
4 homes a month would be the anticipated absorption rate. It takes about 120 days to build one home, and we would continue that based on the rate that they were absorbed.
Okay. And so Jesse, completion, I even hate asking this question because I don't trust you to know. No, I trust you to know, but there's always something that comes up and causes a delay. But what do you think completion for the bridge on Stop 30 and the traffic light? What are we looking at?
I think the traffic light could be more than 5 years. That's a county project, but they're going through NEPA to do that. It's a federal project, so it's just hard to say on those projects because they can take so long to review them. With our project on Stop 30, we should be completed by that time frame. Of course, you have the Army Corps and reviewing.
Yeah, there's always something.
That
I know whatever you guys tell me, I double it, so I'm not disappointed. So, not that I don't trust you, but
takes time.
it takes time.
And some of
There's
those agencies, they're outside the control of the city
always-
for those review processes.
People are referring to this as a park road. Is that a type of road we have? Park road?
It's not, we don't have a classification called the park road. I think there was a speed limit was reduced because, that we don't really have a speed limit at 15 miles an hour anywhere else, and it makes it, there's a park next to it, so.
And it has the rumble strips, because I do use it as a cut through.
Sure. Yeah, and I think it's the only street that's marked 15 miles an hour.
Exactly.
I think we just.
Drake's Creek. has
But it's
some
a-
streets.
Drake's
Creek, yes.
It's a public street.
Yes, ma'am.
It would be repaved by us on, it wouldn't be, like, sometimes we do neglect our own parking lots and our own streets. This is not
It is a public.
in the park. Okay. Was the park land the Roby Field? I know the Roby Fields are kind of newer, but was the park land there before we built Durham Farms? Or at this, they were congruent, right?
Yeah, it was
The developer.
actually all of that, and then the other side of the property that we have been donated to us. It's on the other side of Drake's Creek. We can't get to it unless you drive through Drake's Creek or the bridge over it or something. All of that was a part of the original Durham Farms, and part of the deal was that was park land that they gave the city,
Okay.
and so that's all of that.
We
It's
took the
quite a
deed.
bit of quite a bit of property.
We took the deed about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And how is it currently zoned by the county? SR1?
It's a residential zone. I can't remember. I think it's rural.
Rural, yeah, RR.
Yeah, RR, which basically like a straight zone. That I think it's like 40,000 square foot lots. So I think unlike what you were talking about, Chairman, earlier, I think, and this is just rough estimate, probably as it sits right now, without doing anything but just splitting up the property, maybe they could do 18 to 20 units. The gross of doing something called a cluster development, the developer could probably address it more. But if they did a cluster development in the county, then that could yield more lots. The gross of it would be around 40, but actually in talking to the developer representative, the way they kind of laid it out, it might be more around 30. So that's kind of the different numbers when you're looking at
Okay.
how could it develop in the county. Those are kind of the numbers.
So basically 30 to 40, possibly.
Yeah.
But you already have a plan for if it's in the county. And that would look like 30.
Yeah, it's in that 30 to 40 range.
Okay, 30 to 40.
And I was going to comment from the public and your question regarding the park. We're flexible. We proposed to dedicate that land to the Parks Department, and they said that they would use it. We show a parking lot expansion that can be paved if the city wants it to be paved. We show kind of the area left side of it as potential practice fields for the rugby complex. We show some passive trails. if the city doesn't want more fields, would rather have more passive uses like benches and walking trails, I mean, we're open to guidance from the council on that part.
I don't have an opinion on that yet. So I need to learn more about the options and what the current enrollment is for rugby and that kind of thing. Would there be driveways on the lot if it was in the county?
There would not be a restriction for driveways.
So your plan would involve driveways?
Yeah, you probably have some homes fronting Avant and then a street beyond those with homes fronting in that direction too.
I'm just gonna go off the rules a little bit and just ask a question to the citizens that are here. Are you aware of that difference? Because the current developer, if it goes to the city, when you look at the new development, it would not have any driveways coming onto Avant. They'd have an alley in the back there you would go. But the county, on the other hand, can basically put driveway right on Avant. And so once again, when you talk about whether you like the development or not, when the city has controls or guidelines for developers, it's different than the county. And I just want to be very aware that however this goes, and it's got to go to Bowman for a vote, it could go up, it could go down. The county could do things that we wouldn't allow, like driveways coming right onto the lawn. You got me saying it now.
That's Avance.
It's Avance. So anyhow, I just wanted to bring that to the attention of what's going on here, because just imagine all those people coming out of their driveways every day. And I believe, and correct me, I'm not a builder by any means, but you're setting these houses further back too.
Yeah, we have a nice setback from the street. You know, we're going to have an HOA that has, controls over the neighborhood. The city has controls over the architectural standards. We're going to meet or exceed anything that's in Durham Farms.
The reason we care about driveways is because we have all learned over time that the more curb cuts you have on a road, the more dangerous it is. And I hate to call this out, but if you think about West Main Street, like where the shopping center is, the Saks Deli was in, how there's no curb.
City Square.
City Square. Thank you. You can come in it anywhere versus turning in a very strict and organized way to the Publix. One is significantly more dangerous than the other, but that example is extreme, but it holds. The more driveways, the more dangerous the street is. So that's something we don't want you to experience. Keith, can you talk about the difference between the building codes and also codes enforcement as far as makes a good neighbor, like the mowing and the outdoor sheds full of storage items, and for the county versus the city?
Well, there are differences. I might not be able to get into the specifics of it, but certainly with the quality that you see in the city and that we're all familiar and we all can come to expect, that's a pretty high bar. And it's a high bar on a lot of different things. It's a high bar on our code enforcement. It's a high bar on our building codes when things get built. Of course, it's extremely high bar for our public safety and our response times and the quality of those responses as well. So, all of those things, there are advantages to being within the city. Overall, from a development standpoint, if it's in the city, just as Durham Farms in the city and some of the other developments that have been approved in the last several years, all very high quality, very controlled, architecturally and quality and all of those types of things. In the county, it doesn't mean that you couldn't have those things happen. It's just the process and the requirements might not drive it as they would in the city. It doesn't mean it couldn't be a first class development that occurs there. But versus, just for the best way I can compare it, if it was in the city, there's no doubt, we're going to hold it to a very high standard. And in the county, that would just be out of our control. Not that they don't have standards. It's just a little. It just is a little bit different because it's a city versus a county.
I want to get an answer to a couple of questions that were asked during public comments. Why is it lining up with Misty Way and Kingsley?
I think that could be a couple things. I don't think we've got a public works representative here at the city engineer's office, but that's probably where they were driving that. Part of that is there's requirements and limits on how close you can have intersections, and so we don't want to have them super close. You've got to have them kind of spread out, and as well, just from planning and just basic engineering practices, you want to line an intersection up. You don't want it to be off. I'll give you a good example. Just recently, the whole Lincoln Rockland that was recently approved at BOMA at I think the last meeting. Then I think when it came out of the planning commission, we had it where it wasn't lining up with that gas station, and then BOMA felt pretty strongly about it lining up, and they moved it. That's a pretty good example of why when you're doing roads and intersections, you want to have those line up appropriately. If you offset it, it just gets kind of off.
It's not as safe because it's more locations where people are entering and exiting the street.
And then there's just limits of where, which streets it's lining up with.
Keith, if I could just add, we're going to get into this if we progress through at the final development plan stage where we can look more closely at the traffic and the road designs, and potentially we can do four-way stops at those two intersections, so we can create some traffic calming down Avant, and get, maybe try to address some of the cut through speeding concerns.
I was wondering if the car count would justify a four-way stop, or if it's two-way stop, the Avant would be the main, I think, but maybe we're not there yet to know that with traffic studies.
But it'll be a question for the Public Works Department, but now that we have a four-way stop condition where it didn't previously exist, it may warrant the need just for a four-way stop sign condition.
And if all of this eventually, if it gets approved, then the process that it goes through, just real quickly, the process that it would go through, then they would have to do a preliminary plat, which then we look at things in more detail. Then the really important part of it is the construction plans. That's all that super high level detail. And I think what folks were talking about drainage and the flood area and all that, that's when that gets all super, super fine detail, as well as looking at all this is just kind of conceptual now, but looking at that high level detail, that's when that happens at the construction plans. Then after construction plans are approved, then you have your different phases of your final plats. And then once that's approved, then you could actually start construction.
And so we're not at the place to know where the construction entrance is going to be. We're not at that level.
No.
Jesse, can you refresh my memory how many cars the count is for four-way stop, roughly? Was that 460 and 600 per hour or something?
Yeah, I don't know the exact number. I don't think this would trigger four-way stop at either intersection. It would be a two-way on the minor streets.
Do you have an educated guess as to which street would be considered the main and which would have the stop sign?
Well, Avant Lane would be the main, so it would not have
So the stop sign would be
the
on
minor street.
Kingsley and Misty Way.
Yeah.
And the other streets would probably already have stop signs. Okay. That's all I have.
Mr. Chairman, can I finish something?
Yes, please.
Keith, help me out. I think I'm correct on this. In order for the city to annex a piece of property, we have to assign it one of our zoning designations, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And if we decided to assign it a different zoning designation than what they would like, they would absolutely have the right to withdraw their request.
Yes, and they've actually, the request they have is, hey, annex this if we can have this zoning. And if we can't have this zoning, then they're retracting the request for annexation.
So now I'm going to leave.
Correct.
I just want you all to know that. So items 3 and 4 are very important. You can sort of consider those together. That if you decide to change the zoning from what they've asked for, we may not have a need to annex. See you all in 20 minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So are we moving forward with number 2?
Have any thought able is to change the zoning.
That's the same for,
I know,
Yeah.
I agree.
seems like,
We're just let.
seems like a yellow that we'd wait for.
Mm-hmm. It is.
I think I can maybe speak to that, and Lance let me know if I'm not. But on this is a request, to annex and rezone. And it's just that, so it's just the zoning that's being requested. We couldn't change it midstream.
We couldn't make an amendment.
No, we couldn't make an
Okay.
amendment that said, now we want to do that, because if we did, then the folks that got to go to the planning commission and the planning commission's input might have been totally different.
Yes.
If they'd known, this isn't industrial, but
It would
Yeah.
require a new one.
it'd be like, we're not talking industrial, but in this case, we said, yeah, we're going to approve it, but we want to recommend it industrial. Then that would have taken the opportunity for the
Yes.
planning commission to weigh in and for people to have that public notice and that transparency. So we got to kind of act on the request.
Okay.
So, yes.
It's very different than what the mayor said. I appreciate that. Thank you.
It makes sense.
Please.
Yeah.
It does.
Is that
Yes.
correct, Lance? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Any motions?
I can't see.
I had a question. Within the zoning, can the planning board or anyone else recommend a different density?
Yes, this is a planned development. So all these things like have been talked about, the 3,500 a lot, the fancy houses, the fence, and giving property to the city for the park and the improvements and everything. All that's just part of the deal. It's all part of what the developer is offering in order to get the planned development. So part of that as well with the planning commission, could be that density as well. So in this case, the developer is asking for 61. That could be more. I'm not necessarily that Bowman wants that, but if Bowman wanted 10 more houses, then that could be worked out through this process. But if they felt really strongly that, a lower number, then that could be worked out as well. Just keeping in mind that the applicant and the landowner, there's probably some number that's a make or break number. So that's
There's a number based on money.
on whether the project would work or not.
That's just all what it is.
And we know it's somewhere between 31 and 61.
Well,
Thanks for your question.
but on the annexation, which that's what we're on, is number 31.
Guess that means you might have one.
I'm gonna say to send it with a positive recommendation. And I'm worried about, I hate saying things that can be interpreted as us versus them.
Right, I
But
understand.
I'm worried about the county not taking care of our people in Durham Farms. And I also kind of hesitate to say this, but my business mind is telling me that the reason they're willing to give us all of this stuff and put up with our higher level of codes and our more stringent process is that's why they have to have 61. And if they went to the 30 to 40, they wouldn't have any of those hurdles to jump through. But they wouldn't have our police and fire protection.
Yeah.
And I'm also thinking that it benefits the people in Durham Farms for this land to have our police and fire protection because things spill.
I could also argue from a money standpoint, I'd rather live in Hendersonville than Sumner County, even though we all live in Sumner County.
And the garbage pickup will be private, so it'd be multiple days that we have garbage trucks instead
You know,
of
that's a good point.
one.
That's good. That's a very good point. I don't know what pickup day is in Durham's, but it'd probably be the same one. This development opens. Wednesday. Thank you.
In a second.
Okay, but I can. Then I'll second that motion. And I understand.
So they'll need to take a vote on
Yes.
moving it forward.
Yes.
We have a motion in a second.
Yes.
We just need a vote.
Okay, so all in favor of moving it forward to Boma?
With a positive
For the
recommendation.
No,
Okay.
Karen's a no.
Karen's in it. Number 3, the reading of, again, it's so tied together. The reading of ordinance 2025-18, an ordinance rezoning 32.8 acres of property located once again at 1765 Avonette Lane, Hendersonville, South Oak Creek, and to approve the Crestwater Comprehensive Development Plan. That's what this developer plan is called, to govern said property. No.
Well, I just voted no, not, so I really
Yeah.
can't.
True.
I have no comments.
I will, I just want to say that when we're at Boma, I might be asking you to reduce the number of homes. It's like some, I don't, that'll be a more in-depth conversation that we can have.
Right.
We don't.
Yeah.
Because we can't make changes here. It's yes, no, we don't make amendments.
No, yeah, we don't make changes. We just
Yeah.
make recommendations.
So I would also be moved to
Boma.
move it forward with positive recommendation.
And I'll second that. It's going to get a lot meaner, guys, at Boma than it is here. Just saying.
Yes, so.
We just need to vote one more time.
Okay.
To vote. So we have a motion.
Yeah,
and a
motion
second.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
No.
Okay, thank you. Number 4 should be a little easier. It's reading of ordinance 2025-19. It's an ordinance adopting revisions to the zoning ordinance for the city of Hendersonville. And Mike, you're on this one too.
Yeah, Keith Freese.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So Keith, if you give us a quick update.
I'll do it quick. I won't go line by line like we went at the planning commission. For time. But there's a lot of changes here. This is the third revision really over the last 6 years that we've had. This kind of tidies everything up. There's some good changes in here and a lot of these different changes, they're things that are following through on thoughts and ideas and expressions that our planning commission has had over the last year, as well as what we've seen Boma and the citizens that Boma represents, looking at some of these different changes. So there's a lot of different changes. I can answer any specific question for those. There's nothing crazy radical change, but there's a lot of small to mid-sized changes, that do make a big difference. And you can see if you look at the executive summary, the one I've noted if they're high, medium, or low, kind of changes, and the ones that are high are the ones that stick out a little bit more. Some of those ones that are high, dealing with vesting, like okay, here's where the rules you got approved. How long are you approved for? We're defining what that is instead of just leaving it up to state law. That really keeps it very broad. So we've got that kind of thing are some of the high things. We're increasing some minimum lot sizes in our SR3 and Dockside neighborhood that are within our Westlake area. Just some concern about how small the lots were and some of the lots getting busted up into maybe a few more lots than I think everybody was comfortable with. And so we're making changes on that, as well as in our multifamily, making those lot sizes larger if you were going to do single family detached in a multifamily. A few of the other things that were high was smoke shops. So kind of vape shops, smoke shops. So we're creating some things with that that are going to limit where they can be located in relationship to each other and what zone they can be located in. And then further that they would have to have a conditional use permit.
You do that in chicken places too?
No,
I knew,
it's just
I was absolutely thinking the
it's
same
just-
thing. I'm like, we
it's
don't
just,
regulate that. Why are we?
it's just smoke shop. So with all of that. And then EV charging stations, we don't really have a lot of rules about where they can locate, what they look like, and how they function. And we're kind of tidying that up where,
Right.
we're not the Tesla one in front of Chicken Salad Chick. I think we discussed it at the Planning Commission. It's nice, but we've got all these beautiful parking lots and commercial developments. And then, our concern was it kind of sputtered out, all the ones that were going to happen. But we wanted to go ahead and change the rules a little bit so that we didn't just end up with these things because they're huge. And there's nothing saying they've got to look good. So we want to make sure they're not right out in front of everything. I'll just hit a couple of other things. Did some things where at Glenbrook commercial area in Glenbrook Village and the streets of Indian Lake gives a pathway for those developments to get a larger sign. They all have a lot more businesses and things like that, but to do something, and we kind of changed some language in that as well. This is a pretty big change.
Yeah.
It is about signs, and so we're changing. And this there may be a further change of this at Boma, but we're looking to make this where if you have a non-conforming sign, it could be a wall sign, but particularly we're thinking more about pole signs. If you have that and you do a change of use, then and it's a different change of use than what you're doing, then your sign is no longer allowed and you have to remove it and you have to come into compliance. This is pursuing sort of the whole Westlake cleanup of different things, and this is something that is going to assist that as well.
Yeah.
As well as declaring signs abandoned after 90 days if the building's vacant and it's a non-conforming sign. That's a pretty big change.
Like Trail West.
So that's kind of what we're doing. So those are there's a whole bunch of other things, but those are just some of the highlighted, more significant level.
How often do we have change of use on Westlake in that area?
A lot.
A lot.
We do the number. We do hundreds of change of use. There's all kinds of businesses coming and going all over town. So that gives us an opportunity to look fresh at parking lots and.
Is there any concern that the extra financial burden will slow down small businesses that tend to be located in that part of town?
No, I don't think it will. These signs, it's more kind of losing what they might identify as being valuable as a big old sign, up there. But they still can have signs, and so it's not allowing signs. It's just the big, huge ones that we're really wanting to phase out.
They have to pay for the replacement.
Yes.
And the taking down.
Yeah. We do have currently right now in citywide, if you're taking down a pole sign that's non-conforming, we'll pay 100% of the cost to take it down and to do that. And that's part of our Westlake that Boma budgeted.
So then it's just pay the replacement.
Yeah. So we have that, and so they'll start taking advantage of that.
And we really don't have those signs outside of Westlake, do we?
No.
Not really.
Not in any mass.
A few up in New Shackle, but there's not very many.
Ours is down.
Huh?
Ours is down.
Yes, and we're working with you all on a grant as well for that. So
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
great. Thank you for working.
Yeah, but now you tell me you pay for it after.
I want to say I appreciate the executive summary because this is really difficult to read. Just
The staff did a great job.
yes,
That's why we get keep free.
yeah.
Well, the staff is.
It's just so tedious, and
Yeah.
so the summary really helps.
Yes.
It makes sense. I will make a motion to move it forward with a positive recommendation.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The last one that Rachel is yours.
Yep.
It's the reading of resolution 2025-33. It's a resolution establishing city hall special event policies.
You guys will probably recall that we've had the market and handmade market, and last year, like a year and a half ago at this point, we said, oh, let's get a policy and move it, and so now we do. And Trustee wrote the policy, and I'm the sponsor of it because I was the one who asked for the policy.
Okay.
And I do love it. It has the same insurance requirements that our parks department uses, with the exception that they can get outside of health things with food vendors. They can get one that covers all the vendors instead of bunches of vendors.
Well, I have a lot of questions around the calendar days and the number of days per month, but in given get the time frame that we're in right now, I'll leave those that come on.
Okay.
So,
And
That's not even
we got.
what we're voting on, so, you know.
Oh, yeah. No,
no, there's
It is.
timing.
It is.
How
It is.
many how many occasions per year and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's all in.
Wouldn't that be different for everybody?
No, it's limited. There's like how many hours? 11 spots per year,
12 calendar days per year
and
and 2 days per month.
so that we're not
Right.
continuously
And
the flea market
And my
out here.
concern is, I'll just say, when we resolve this, you know, we have to do our preemptive stuff before.
Yes.
I, the citizens own City Hall too, so
That
why
they
are
do.
we limiting the amount of events that they can have?
Anyway,
We'll just say we'll move it to formal with a positive recommendation.
You have a first and a second on that one, Jason?
First,
second,
and then just
All in
need a
favor?
vote.
Okay.
I move to adjourn. Well, we don't have other business, do we?
And we have no other business.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?